And generally, where do you want me to look?
Right here.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, we'll just have a conversation before the cameras.
I'll just be like,
I know,
so.
it's like, right.
My name is Jamie Shadowlight. Music is magic. It is the creator of the cosmos, and it is to me. When I think of music now, I think of medicine. I'm really conscious of the tone and the energy field that I carry in life in general, so that when I play, I can carry a certain energy and I can enter those dimensions and create that communion, not only between me and the elements and the space that I'm in, but into the hearts and the energy fields of the people that are listening.
What do you play and for how long?
Well, I feel like I am the music. The more I am in the field of creating vibration, I've learned that it's not so much the instrument. But that being said, I play the violin. The violin is my Excalibur, and it is my main form of expression. But I also play the guitar. I recently started singing, and I play the keyboards.
How long have you played violin?
And the chimes now. I've been playing violins, I feel like, through several lifetimes. It goes beyond. The more I'm in life, the more I start to access an ancient memory. And I find myself detuning, creating sounds that are beyond what the violin is known to do. And I feel like that comes from a different space. But in this life, I've been playing since I was 5 years old.
How did music first enter your life on a personal level?
I was trained because I'm Asian, and I'm also, that's a joke, but my parents were immigrants, and they wanted me to have all the trainings of everything so that I could have a good chance here. And so I was very well educated, and piano and violin was one of them. Music, but the spirit of music entered my life when I let go of the structure of life. I feel like Charlie Parker said it, the famous quote, "You have to live it for it to come out your horn." And the spirit of music started to really come into my life when I released a lot of structure in my life. And I opened the music to enter me. And it started when I was about 18. And it's just recently developing into a very profound discovery and dance, the dance with creation.
What happened when you were 18 years old to have this profound change?
Well, I had prepared all this, not for any. My parents were not musicians. They loved opera and they loved music, old Korean songs. But they had trained me like this so that I can get into college. And so back then I was competing in Bach festivals. I actually won the gold medal in the Bach festival with the trio. And I was practicing a lot, playing Mendelssohn concertos. And I got into all the colleges. And then I got into UCSD, and I went there for a semester, and then I dropped out. And instead, I went to a concert in Oregon, and with a bunch of hippies, and I never came back. I started to become a street musician, and just started playing, jamming with everybody I met, and I learned the form of improvisation. Then I came back to San Diego, and I started communing with the jazz musicians here, Daniel Jackson, Charles McPherson, Gilbert, all the really great technical jazz musicians took me under their wing. And I never considered myself a jazz musician, but as Daniel said, you make me cry, you make me feel things. So they would always include me, especially Daniel, he would always include me, Marshall Hawkins.
As a performing professional musician, how did you get started?
Well, first of all, you know about me, I've done a billion things, and I'm doing a billion things every day, and I have a billion things coming. So to go back so far, it takes a little bit of hard drive, like rebooting. What was my first gig? Oh, I I was a street musician, and I was playing on the boardwalk at Mission Beach every day at sunset. And I met this woman named Nancy Porter. So I had never played a gig before, and she had a little place right across the street from here called the Interchange, and it's where Jewel got started. And at that time, like all the singer-songwriters were playing there, and I was just writing. I had gotten an old borrowed guitar, and I was writing all these songs on the guitar and singing back then. I wasn't so much playing the violin. And I had like a little drum, and she gave me a night there. So I went over there and played my first show.
What are your current roles as a professional musician?
I work in a form of sound made visible. It's called cymatics. And mainly I work in the medium of water. So I'm moving the water with the sound of my violin and my voice, and seeing the order that comes through vibrational resonance out of chaos, just a standing wave. You start to see the secrets of the universe. You start to see how everything was created from the subsonic hum. How this, like, and the lower the tones, the more it interacts, the more resonance it has, and it actually creates a lot of order. Why do we love the bass so much? Why does the bass hold the band together? Why does it, when you add the bass to an ensemble, why does it have that power? And I just recently learned that these sounds, these lower tones, what they do is in medicine, they resonate your lungs, the cavity here, the 100 hertz, like the lower hertz. But then the higher hertz, in the Egyptians, they used to use a cistern, and it's the rattle, the bells, and the higher tones, 1,000, 2,000 hertz, it affects you here in the cavity here. And there's a lot of medicine in that frequency. So the combination of those two things can give you a profound experience of well-being. And I just learned a very interesting thing, that sound, we look at it, everything is a symbol, and we get so caught up in what we've been told, what we've been taught. This is a violin, these are the notes. Imagine this without the markers of the notes, right? You're just working in vibration, and you look at it as, sometimes you'll detune to make it feel right. And so all of a sudden, it's just being curious to see what these frequencies are. We were in the West, we're in a 12-tone system. But the Indians, they have the microtone system, 24 tones. But then it goes even beyond that. Like, imagine the ruler, imagine space. It's like you're working with the ruler your whole life and thinking things are within that three-dimensional space, but it's really more than that. And it's multidimensional, but not only that, imagine taking all the things off the ruler and really feeling the space, for what it truly is, instead of thinking that you know. And from that point of contact, you're allowed great discovery.
What influences did you have?
When I was younger, my mom gave me the discipline before I had discipline to actually learn the violin, to learn an instrument and to stick with it, and at a high level. So I entered this realm with a lot of experience. I logged in my 10,000 hours early, so. But then what was beautiful was then the next half of my life was spent releasing that and expanding out of that. So what influences me right now the most is elemental forces. One day I was in the desert, and the wind came and played my violin. And all of a sudden I understood again the connection to the Mongolian ancient secrets of harmonics. These harmonics, and the violin played the wind and I just held my violin up. It happened twice. And the thing is, I'm amplified, so all my desert gear is battery powered and amplified. Because there's something very powerful about, you need to create enough force in order to move water, to to move the air, to actually have a presence and to commune with you're actually shifting the air around you, the water in the air around you. And working with water, what's interesting is watching how the low subsonic tones move the water. It takes, the higher the tones, the smaller the container you need in order to really see things, and also more volume.
What is one of your most memorable performances?
I've performed all over the world and all over town. I feel like some of my most memorable performances was at a place called Anthology and 98 Bottles. We used to do a lot of fusion concerts, and one of my favorites was Jazz Meets Star Wars with Gilbert Castellanos, and also West Side Story. But one of my favorite performances was in South Africa at the Smoking Dragon Festival. And during my tour years with Todo Mundo, I was given a very epic role in that band. And it's Joshua Tree Music Festival. There was a really powerful moment there. I got to be very epic. I was all in white and with the tassels, and just it was a chance to really rock out and also be kind of gypsy as well, and then beautiful and melodic, and ska, very, very, just throwing down really, really hard. And I really enjoy those moments, the diversity of those. One of my favorite performances was when I played with Victor Wooten in Colorado. And when I showed up there, when I first met Victor, it was at the Music Box. This will tie into, and he invited me to come play with him. So I drove out to Colorado, and when I met him, I dreamt of Michael from the music lesson. And when I got to Colorado, he said, "Come backstage, we're doing sound check." And this man opens the door, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Michael." And he had come there, it was Michael from the music lesson, and he plays cello. And we got to improvise a piece on the spot to a full house at the Caribou Room in Netherlands. And it was so beautiful because they set me up, I did the sound check, and we started to play, and the magic started to happen in the sound check, and Victor stopped it, and then he said, "I'm sorry I stopped that, but I want to save the magic for when we play, the discovery for when we actually play." And so we just went on stage, he let me know the key, and we created magic in the moment. That was one of my favorite performances, because when I met Victor, I dreamt of Michael, and I didn't know he was real. And and in my dream, he said, "Put out your left hand," and he put an orange in my hand, and he said, "Give this to Victor." And I woke up and I was like, "Oh, interesting." I thought he was a fictional character. And I show up in Colorado, and he's real, and he had just driven up for the Colorado shows, 2 shows. And then we're hanging out backstage with Dennis Chambers and Bob Franceschini and Michael, and suddenly Michael's like, "Hey, oh my God, in 12 days, he didn't say, "Oh my God," it's gonna be my birthday, and I have a gift for you. And so he says, "Put out your left hand." And he put a rosin in my hand, this beautiful clear rosin. So that was one of my favorite shows because it showed me that magic is real.
What are some like pieces of music or records or like artists that inspire you to take yourself to the next level?
Daniel Jackson, Marshall Hawkins, Gilbert, Rob Thorson. I was deeply ingrained in the local scene, so there's so many of them. But those are the Martin Luther King Jr. Gospel Choir, Carmelita Toothbell, Arnessa Rickett, getting into that scene. I love so many kinds of music, from Dave Brubeck to Bill Bruford. I really love the old fusion tunes. I love Jean-Luc Ponty. I love the old fiddle tunes. I love Alison Krauss, and any kind of music that comes from a true expression I'm really drawn to and curious and open to learn. I play a lot of different kinds of music. So I also like, all the great fiddle players, Alfredo de la Fe, who does, the salsa violin. And I have a really good story about, one day he called me because I met him, and I was like, "Oh, Alfredo de la Fe." And I got to talk to him for a minute because I was playing with a conga player who knew him, and I told him how much I admired him. People think of improvisation as jazz, right? Knowing the chords and scales, and in my classical training, that was the one thing. When I first left and I started playing with these, Joe Murillo too, right? Where he sat down and he tried to teach me, what I know so well, and I teach, whenever I do teach, I try to break it down very simply, the scales and the chords and the tones and the number system and everything. I was like, nobody taught me this, what the heck, Nobody talks about this, and it's really a key to freedom and to understanding so much. And, but people think of, there's so many forms of improvisation that, jazz is a very sophisticated form of coordinating improvisation. But the kind of improvisation I do now is a very different kind of improvisation. I wouldn't call it jazz, but it's more like creation. And I feel like there's that difference. You're either creating or you're honoring, right? You're attributing. You're giving tribute to a form, or you're a keeper of the flame. You're keeping alive some ancient form, and there's so much power in these old songs. There's so much power when you choose to like, let's say you play a song, you love John Coltrane, so let's say you sit down and you learn that. There's a power in that, because you're actually communicating, you're stepping into the mind of another. It's a form of empathy. It's a deep form of empathy. And the kind of improvisation I do now is one of creation. It's really, there is no thought of the other. There's no thought of chords, of notes, of numbers, or anything. There's no thinking.
What advice do you have for future musicians?
For future musicians, I would, I do teach, and I always try to keep at least 4 Jedis, and commune with young people starting out. And I see myself as a liberator when I teach. I try to liberate them from what they're told, open their minds to what music can be, but also understand that they are a creator. And how do you access that creative confidence? How do you trust your ears? So when I work with young people, or people who come up to me after hearing me play, and they're inspired and they're like, oh, I want to play, is listen, and learn to trust what you're hearing. This one way's up, this one which way's down, and get familiar with that. But really learn to trust your own ears. Yeah. And for me, I always, reading the music and doing all that thinking before and commune with the vibration, I feel is the wrong order. I feel like a lot of times when people are taught that way, it takes away a piece of their creative connection, and it takes them a little bit of time to regain that. So I would suggest communing with the vibration first, learning how to find the different, steps of the vibrations, in whatever country you're in, or whatever world you're in, whatever music you're interested in. Understand that music is a vast umbrella. Find out where it is you feel called to, who you are, and in what part of music you feel called to commune with, and then start developing from there. Know that it's vast, it's not just one way.
What is it about your instrument, the violin, that you self-identify with?
Oh, I am the violin. You see, what is it about this? Well, I like it because it's fretless. I like it because I don't know. I don't ever remember being without the violin, and I don't play for a purpose. I mean, I play for a purpose. I make my living at it, but it's a part of me. It's just, I can't remember a time where it just hasn't always been a part of my discovery, my expression.
How do you program repertoire for a performance?
Depends on, again, because I play so many different kinds of performances, I just approach each one as its own little expression. I'm known to, even when we're doing shows like let's say we're doing the songs of the Beatles, or we actually here we did a show called, we did a we always call it a jazz exploration of the Nutcracker. So we did the Nutcracker, we took the themes, and with the band, that band was with Mikan, and the drummers would vary, Richard Sellers and Antar, and different bass players. But it was the traditional jazz quartet kind of thing with the violin, or usually we would just get together, play the heads, and then just let it form, for better or for worse. I don't have much fear of mistakes or making a fool out of myself. I'm like, oh well, next time we'll do better. But yeah, so a lot of times I don't like to overthink it. I like to leave a lot of it to the moment, the discovery of the moment. But I like to stay in touch. I notice that the more I play, the more I'm in touch with the instrument. And yeah, it's just endless. It's an infinite learning ground. It's insane how many I still don't feel like I know so much, especially when I start playing forms of music. But
How you became so comfortable making mistakes in the bandstand or whatever performance setting it is? I mean, like, because
I'm-
all ask, but like, I'm curious how you may look at that.
by making a lot of mistakes. And then but enough of it's good, enough of it's from a place where people, whenever we have a show or whenever I put together a show, they've been very powerful experiences. They're totally imperfect. Yeah, I look back but there's moments of magic, and I'm playing with such good players too that my mistakes, they're able to meet me there. But just through making so many mistakes that you just have to live with it, and you just have to keep moving forward. And I don't live in the past. A lot of these things we're talking about, all the things that you learn in trying to understand your instrument are the lessons that you can use towards your life, towards having a healthy, beautiful life.
How has music helped you develop as a human being?
Well, music is everything to me in development, and it's both. Becoming a human being, it has helped me develop my music, and that is so important, and in turn music has also helped me develop as a human being. Again, it's that learning ground. When you can't do something right, or when you have to work through something, or things don't work out, and you just learn, you build your character. You build character through facing those moments with grace, and sometimes not with grace, and then you go, oh, and you learn from it, and you're like, I don't want to be like that, and you grow from it. And there's been many blind moments where I didn't see things, or just didn't know in the moment, and both in life and in music. And through time you learn, and then through learning and seeing yourself like that, it allows you to give grace to other people, which I think is very important. It's not just because oftentimes when you're hard on yourself, you're hard on other people too.